come at you, man. Let me tell y'all, election years are always crazy. Y'all remember 2020? Back in 2020, man, we were dealing with race wars and riots and George Floyd and COVID, and then the January 6th situation. So I always kind of say, you got to keep your eye, man, on the devil on the board, man. During these election years, it always seems like it ramps up. So I say that to say the Israel and Hamas war. I want to touch on that briefly. I'm going to have a bigger breakdown coming on the page because I'm going to touch on that, and I'll have a full kind of breakdown and some of the history and kind of where we're going with this. But the Israel and Hamas war has graduated, guys. It has graduated into a Israel and Iran war, which is what everybody on both sides feared when this first started. It had less to do with the genocide that's going on in Palestine, or in Gaza, I should say, against the Palestinians, and a lot to do with the war spreading wide. That region cannot afford wide wars. The Middle East is so fickle and it's so volatile that you have to keep those wars and those fires flamed out. And that was what America's job was over the last couple of decades. Donald Trump put in act the Abraham Accords to where he made it clear as day all the countries had to kind of sign a peace treaty and a peace agreement or classify where they stood in the Middle East, because it was always, you had Iraq and Iran and then you had Egypt and Jordan, and so the Abraham Accords kind of cleaned up a lot of things and kind of showed everybody their hand on where they stood. So anyways, October 7th happens. We get Israel and Hamas. Hamas shields themselves in Palestine. That results into Israel invading Palestine, bombing Palestine. The Palestinians are then fleeing. They have fled to different parts of the Middle East. They are now in Rafah. And this is just, I got to speed this up because I don't want to take everybody's time. So they're now in Rafah. That was the red line that the U.S. has given Israel, and the UN has given the red line was in Rafah. So we keep our eyes off of that because April 1st, I believe, Israel bombs the embassy in Iran, or a little bit outside of Iran, but it was Iran's embassy where they had some top officials and war generals and people like that there. I think one of their people had gotten killed. So then fast forward to April, I want to say 13th. April 13th, we get Iran shooting the 300 missiles famously or infamously over into Israel, which was a crazy scene. And we, at this point, we had never seen Iran in a direct conflict with anybody. They always use their proxies, which is Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis. So it was really crazy to see Iran teeing off and claiming the 300 missiles that they shot. So now, just I think 2 days ago, Israel finally respond and they sent drones and missiles over back into Iran. I think 18 people died, I want to say. Correct me if I'm wrong, and 22 people was injured. But I found in this news, and this is what you got to pay attention to. In this news, we found out that where the United States stands. I thought it was genius for Iran. Not genius, but Iran has forced the United States' hands because we have been serving two masters this whole time. On one hand, it is a popular opinion in our country, and there is widespread, riots going on and riots and protests going on. Not riots, I should say protests going on within the country and at college campuses. There's an anti-Israel movement going on, which is it's a popular thing now, but it's not an American stance to take. So with that, it being election year, Joe Biden has now had to kind of reassess his position on this because it's all a game, and he's trying to win these votes so he can be reelected, him and his team. So he has given Netanyahu a red line that he is not to cross over into Rafah, and that they need to resolve this conflict soon. On the other hand, we had been sending money over to Israel. We had not stopped giving them money. We funded their defense when the 300 missiles were shot. We funded some of that defense. We had some of our fighter jets and 747s over there and things of that nature. So, again, Biden has been pulled out of the clause and exposed because he's serving two masters. I think just as of yesterday, we finally announced that if Israel didn't stop or buy, we were putting sanctions on them, and I think it's going to be passed this week. We're putting sanctions on them, which, hey, Biden's going to have to choose his side of the fence, and we're putting him in such a predicament, especially during election year. It's so hard for him to choose which side of the fence he wants to be on. So I say all that to say, I found out that during this time, the United States told Israel and Bibi Netanyahu that if he did not retaliate in Iran, we would and we would have to verify this. It's horrible reporting on my end, or it's not reporting. I'm just telling you guys what I've seen on the news. Is that if we did not retaliate, or if Iran or Israel did not retaliate to Iran's 300 missile strikes, we would let them invade Rafah, which is crazy to say. That is crazy to say. That is where the Palestinians are. That's their last place that they can go. They're on a border in Rafah, and they are cornered in, and we would let Israel do a ground invasion and drop bombs on the 1.4 million Palestinians that are left. We are watching a complete ethnic cleansing and genocide. They can say that's not what's being done. We are trying to get Hamas. Hamas is shielding themselves against the Palestinians. My rebut is you can't eradicate Hamas, unfortunately. You've done enough damage and you've proved enough points. A two-state solution is not the answer as well. But you will not eradicate Hamas. Hamas is an ideology. It's not a group. It's not just a group. It's not the few people that's left. It's an ideology. And as this war continues, you are actually going to create a bigger group than Hamas. So that's kind of my stance on it for right now. Again, I'm going to have a more detailed breakdown of this situation. I just ask everybody to keep their eye on that, even through our rap civil war and our entertainment industry wars and everything that's going on. There's a bigger war actually going on right now. And a lot of people will tell you, and if you have any kind of sense or eyes, you can see that this could easily lead to a world war. So just everybody keep their eyes and keep posted on that. And we should not allow Israel to invade Rafah. They're planning to invade Rafah. That needs to be the red line. The UN and other nations need to step in, and I believe that they will step in.